know, the one thing about the quarantine self-isolation is that my hair is just getting longer and I'm just not doing anything to it. So if it looks like shit, sorry. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie if you're new here. I hope your day is going well. And today we are going to be doing another recent reads video. I kind of forget that I'm supposed to do wrap-ups for you guys because I'm not doing monthly wrap-ups anymore. I feel like this is just going to be a chiller way for me to talk about books that I've read. I read a decent amount of things in April, so we're going to just go over them. May has not been a focused reading month, that's for sure. It's been kind of all over the place, but let's just go ahead and get into some of the books that I've read since the last time I told you what I've read in like a more general consensus. What? Whatever. Let's move on. The first book that I read in the month of April, what month is it? April. I started doing owls in April, I want to say, and I don't know if I passed or not because I wasn't really paying attention by the end of the month because I just for some reason cannot focus on month-long readathons. I always like start really strong and then forget halfway through. But the first book I read was Kill Creek by, who is this by? Scott Thomas, and this is about a group of writers that stay in a haunted house, and it's good. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. I wanted to love it. It was spooky, it was scary, it definitely had some really nice horror elements, but the female characters were done not well. Like very obvious male writer writing female characters kind of situation. But otherwise, it was enjoyable, and if you're looking for a spooky book, I would say it should be on your TBR. And moving on, I read The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. This was like not on my Owls TBR, but then I just kind of like forced it to be on my Owls TBR, but then I didn't finish the Owls. This is the first book in her whatever series this is, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is about a world where a woman goes to this big city where she's semi-related to the king and basically is told that she is going to be one of his heirs, and that puts her in grave imminent danger. And this world has gods that have become slaves to this kingdom. And it was done super, super well. I loved it. I love everything N.K. Jemisin has done that I've read. I definitely think this is one of those series that I really, really can't wait to binge. I did order the bind-up, but who knows where it went. Lots of shipping issues recently. But I would say that if you're looking for like Rhys and Feyre, Dark Lord, Raylo shit, this is the ship you should look for. It's so good, like Darkling Alina. Way more than I expected for this book, but oh damn. It was good shit. And the next book that I'm going to talk about is The Wolf of Oren-Yaro by K.S. Veloso. This is a high fantasy about a woman who has become this notorious queen, and she must travel from her kingdom to, or queendom, to another like part of the world and hopes to reconcile with her husband. And albeit I enjoyed aspects of this book, the world did not grasp me, and I didn't like the main character. Not in the sense that I felt like she was like too bitchy, because the whole concept of this is that she's the bitch queen, but the fact that she was really naive at times, and there was a character that kept kind of just showing up whenever she needed to be saved, or like whenever the plot needed it, this character would just appear. And I just felt like there was a lot of things that I just was like, that was convenient for this book, but I do hope to continue reading with this series. I will most likely give this a second chance and retry it, because this is also one of the books that, if you've watched the BookTube Ruined My Reading video that I have on my channel, this is one of those books that I felt suffered from that particular reading slump that I was going through. Even though I was reading, I wasn't enjoying what I was reading, and I feel like that was a detriment to this novel in particular. And moving on, we have The Steel Crow Saga by Paul Kruger. I have all of the library books still. It's so funny. So this is another high fantasy where this is kind of like if you mixed like Pokemon with like a high fantasy setting, and that is not something that I knew going into this. I just knew that there was a queer relationship, and I was excited for that, and I enjoyed this to an extent. So I ended up giving this one 3 stars, I think. Yeah, 3 stars. Same as the Wolf of Oren-Yaro, but I feel like this one I actually have not great relationship with Paul Kruger's characters, because when I read his Into the Nightshade Lounge or whatever, I didn't like the characters in that one either. I like his worlds, but not his characters. And the thing about the queer relationship in this one is I feel like, actually a lot of the relationships in this, is that it felt a little forced and a little rushed. There was an aspect of like slower burn that I wanted, which is weird for me because I don't mind like some like rush romance. You guys know me, but like this particular relationship, it was like 0 to 60 real fast, and I kind of wanted a little bit more like character dynamic building before all of a sudden we're making out. Just me. And then around the time where I was telling myself I needed to slow down my reading, I read a book in one sitting, and that was The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is a YA fantasy revolving around a girl who lives in a town that's surrounded by a forest where basically zombies come out of the woods, and they're called bone houses, and she knows how to defeat them. And then there's this boy who is a map maker, and he's quite funny, and I really enjoyed his character. And they have to journey together to figure out what's going on with the bone houses because things are going a little weird. I would say that I ended up giving this 4 stars because I did enjoy this, the world, the characters, but the biggest thing that I did not like was that this was a romance between the 2 main characters. And I just feel like the thing about these 2 characters is that I felt that they were more friends, and that friends would do whatever it takes to protect their friends, and I felt like that would have been a more truthful story to what I was reading from the characters. But I digress. It was thoroughly enjoyable, and for a YA novel, I have not been really enjoying anything that I've been reading, and I feel like the writing style was really rich but still simplistic, and it was just a fun ride. And the fact that like the main character's name is one of my best friend's names, that was a big bonus. So shout out to Ren. And then moving on, we have Anna K by Jenny Lee. This was a whim pickup for me at a Target recently because I didn't realize this was an Anna Karenina retelling. The issue that I have with this is that I've started Anna Karenina, the classic, like 3 or 4 times, and I've gotten about 50% of the way through all the times that I've tried and DNF'd it. I thought that since this is a modern take on that story that I would enjoy it more. I got about 50% of the way through this book and realized, no, it is this storyline that I actually don't enjoy about 50% of the way through. This is an interesting retelling because it follows Anna, who is part of the elite society in New York City, kind of like a la Gossip Girls situation like that, which was really enjoyable, and I liked kind of following along the lives of these really rich kids that are in a vastly different political landscape or economic landscape than I live in. But the thing is that Anna specifically was not a good person, and a lot of the characters had like these traumatic events told to you on the page, but there wasn't a lot of emotional gravity. A lot of the way that people talk to each other in this book, it just felt kind of bland and stale, and I kept kind of forgetting who was who a few times, and the writing style was very evocative of Tolstoy, and I really enjoyed that. But then it got a little bit too much towards the end, and it lost that connection to the characters that I was hoping to continue having. So I ended up giving this another 3 stars, but I would recommend it if you are more into contemporary than I am, because I do feel like this was a very fun and refreshing take on YA literature in the contemporary setting. But another book that I liked, and that is Enchanté by Gita Trelease. So this is actually a book that I would say that if you didn't like Serpent and Dove, you should try this one. So this follows, what's her name? Camille. So this follows Camille in France during the pre-revolution, and it does such a better job of describing like beautiful French culture and the times that this book is set in, whereas obviously Serpent and Dove is not set in like specifically France, but they kind of make it sound like it, and I just it bothered me. Like there is like an overly contextualized amount of French words in here that doesn't need to be there, but like I really felt like this just atmosphere-wise, super good. But let me tell you what it's about. So this follows Camille. She is a girl that's down on her luck that's taking care of her sister and is being basically hounded for money by her gambling addicted brother. And there's something that Camille can do that other people can't. So she has a special power where she can create illusions, and she ends up creating an illusion of herself as a noblewoman and going into French court to gamble, and she cheats at gambling to make money for her and her sister. It's very beautifully written. I really enjoyed it. I felt like the ending was a little bit rushed, so I did give it 4.5 stars, but I do honestly believe that if you're looking for something that has that wonderful, beautiful, like Marie Antoinette kind of vibes, but with like a little bit of magic, this is exactly what you should look for. And then I read all of the Twilight series, so if you've watched those videos, good for you. If you haven't, please watch them, because it took so much of my time doing that. I hope the spinning of the chair isn't annoying, because I'm sure that might be annoying. Yeah, so I read all 4 of the Breaking Dawn. I read all 4 of the Twilight books and rated them pretty fucking low, considering all things. Actually, I rated Twilight pretty high, but if you haven't watched those videos, please go watch them and watch my Midnight Sun kind of discussion video, because I worked decently hard on that. So if you want to hear my thoughts about Twilight, go check out those videos. And then I read a couple of smuts. So I read a couple of books by Katie Robert over the course of the last little bit. First one was Learn My Lesson, and this is actually the follow-up book to the Jafar smutty retelling, and this was Hercules, Meg, and Hades, and I am thoroughly enjoying the fuck out of this Disney smutty retelling set in like a sex club. Fucking loving it. It's ridiculous, but it's enjoyable. But only if you like smut, so steer clear otherwise. And then I read a couple of other ones by her, Theirs for the Night and Her Rival's Touch. Theirs for the Night was actually like a 70-page novella that sets up a story or series that's going to be about one girl and this prince from like some sort of kingdom, I don't know, and his bodyguard. And that was interesting. I kind of liked the way that that was done. I do think that it would have been nice if the book, like the first book in the series, was actually available, but it wasn't, and I was like, okay. And I honestly could not remember anything about The Rival's Touch, or Her Rival's Touch. That one had good sex scenes. That's all I remember. And I don't really feel like I rated them anything. But let me tell you about one of my favorite books that I read recently, and that is The Southern Sky... Okay, last book. And that was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Now this book follows a group of women who are all moms in the 90s, like housewives in the 90s. And this is about one of them kind of feeling like something is going on that's wrong in her neighborhood. She gets attacked and there is just some weird shit going on. And the women that she's become friends with all read these thriller horror novels together, like true crime novels. And it was wonderfully done. It's much slower paced than you would anticipate for a horror novel, but I really did enjoy it. And the big thing about this book that I found really interesting is that it dealt with a lot of the sexism that women dealt with, even just in the 90s, and the racism that the minority cultures dealt with when their children are going missing. I thought it was done incredibly well. I highly enjoyed it. And if you're looking for a vampire novel that isn't about sparkly vampires, check this out. Alrighty. Yeah. So let me know down below. Let me know in the comments if you guys like this form of wrap-up still. I will continue doing it. I don't know if I'm going to continue talking about every single thing that I read, just because I don't know if I want to do that or not. But I've definitely slowed down my reading again, just with life in general. I've been watching a lot of Netflix and kind of just vibing, I guess. But just let me know what you guys are interested in hearing about. Like, I can do more Netflix reviews, and we'll see how that goes. But super chill. Just let me know what you guys are up to right now and what you've recently read or what you want me to read next. I'm gonna go now. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Bye!